What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 81 of the Overview. I'm ChanManV, and joining me tonight is Flame. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you?
Good. And ZP is going to be here. He apparently had something like pop up. It's literally like last minute while we were setting up. So we got Doomfist for now, but hopefully ZP will join us a little bit later. But we're welcoming our first time guest, Mr. Trevor May, who is, if you guys don't know him, he's actually a pitcher for the Minnesota Twins, it's Minnesota Twins, right? Like, I'm making sure. God, he didn't get traded like since the last time I talked to you. But he's a baseball pitcher, and you're probably wondering, what is he doing on an Overwatch podcast? Well, he's also one of the owners of Winston Lab, which is like one of the websites we all use for all of our analytics. So welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Yeah. So I actually ran into you at TwitchCon. So was that your first TwitchCon or no?
Yes, first TwitchCon that has happened actually since I've been partnered. So I thought that I would get out, and I also had another buddy that you met, Lassus, who I also forced to come with me. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a great time.
Oh God, Lassus. So funny story with Lassus. So I ran into Lassus at the Blizzard party, and I'd never met Lassus in person. So it was so loud in there that when he introduced himself, I could not literally hear a thing. So I was just kind of like your classic. When you meet somebody. And then so when I ran into him with you, I was like, oh fuck, that's Lassus. Oh my God. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So you guys
hasn't left his house in a couple of years, so that explains why you've never met him in person.
You guys live close together? I mean, how do you guys know each other? I mean,
so funny story. I started when I played in beta or whatever. I started to get into Twitch a lot more. Up until that time, I didn't have as much time, and I was kind of injured, so I had a lot of downtime. Got into Twitch, and last was one of the first couple guys I saw play. Obviously, I saw Tim Tatman, but and last plays with him, and so we kind of struck a chord there. It happened to be when I first was in his stream, and I decided that I was like, oh, this guy deserves a sub. I subbed to him, and he's talking about how he lives close to Tampa. Well, at the time, I was in Tampa playing against the Rays, so I left him and his buddy some tickets, and they came out and met me that day. And he's just a cool dude. Like I don't know, he reminds me of people I grew up with, and he's not that much older than me. We would have been in high school together. So cool. Like, as you know, in the Twitch scene, maybe I'm 28 is older in that demographic.
Yeah, you're still a youngin', man. You're still totally youngin'.
so I'm in Fort Myers right now, at the Twin Spring Training Facility.
Oh, you're not that far from me, dude. I'm in Florida too, dude.
Oh yeah,
but so over on the other coast.
He's in Sarasota.
Yeah.
So it made sense. We just flew out of Tampa, and
cool, man.
And then there, yeah.
Good stuff. Well, definitely great to have you on here, and I got a chance to talk. I mean, I met you there, obviously, so it was great talking to you about just analytics and all that good stuff. So I figured, why not just ask you to come on this week? I think it'd be pretty fun just to talk about, again, like just kind of extend that kind of conversation, and obviously talk about just Overwatch League and everything going on right now. But we've got a lot to talk about tonight, guys. We had a big announcement just 1 or 2 hours ago, Jeff with a developers update, on top of just everything we're going to talk about this week, which was Apex, of course, and a lot of teams announcing their brands as well as their rosters, Boston in particular. So why don't we just jump right into it? I think, I kind of had this starting off, but I think I'll mix up this order a little bit. Why don't we talk about the game a little bit? One of the things that they announced this week was that you can actually gift loot boxes now. Dude, that's like something we've been asking for a long time. So, Flame, you gonna be gifted a bunch of loot boxes from your Discord, or?
I don't know. It depends. Like, what would I do with the loot boxes right now? That's the question. I mean, someone
did you get everything in Halloween?
No, I'm still missing. I think like one of the skins. I'm like 500 gold short from the Symmetra skin or something. So I'm considering buying more boxes, but I don't want to go down that route. So maybe someone will gift me some.
There you go, man. I'm sure that now that they, what do you have? How many people you have on there? Like 3,000 people now or something? Surely they can. Yeah, surely they can donate a penny and get you it.
That'd be cool. You could
tell them you'll kick them.
Tell me you
Loot
kick
boxes
Yeah,
them.
start threatening them.
Threaten
I
to
need
kick them.
3,000 loot boxes right now.
Yeah,
Just tax them all loot box.
exactly. Show them who the daddy is on that that Discord. But no, anyways, that it's a great feature. It's something that a lot of people have been asking about, especially during the holiday season. Obviously, that's coming up. So awesome that we're gonna be able to do that. Another thing too that's been in the news is that we've been talking a little bit about just the playership, I guess, for Overwatch. And last week we talked a little bit about matchmaking, some of the issues there. But there was another article that came out that talked about PC bangs, right? PC bangs are usually, at least the percentage of play in PC bangs usually gives us a little bit of maybe a rough barometer of how things are going, maybe for Overwatch and just playership, at least the playership over in Korea. And, it's reached the all-time low, which is like 13.5% right now. I think PUBG and League of Legends are somewhere around the 23%. And it wasn't that long ago that we were talking about Overwatch like passing League of Legends, and then League of Legends, passed it back up for like months, and then the meta changed, and Overwatch was close again. But it looks like it's taken a pretty far downturn right now. And wanted to get your thoughts on that. What do you guys think of the general playership of Overwatch? Are we starting to see people leaving Overwatch, or is this just kind of like one of these just short-term trends that happen just throughout the year? Trevor, what do you think? Like, let me ask you first, given you're our new guest here.
Well, as you two very well know, we're at a point here towards the end of the season where people who take the game fairly seriously schedule their hiatus maybe from the game a little bit because of kind of what it devolves into. And myself being a mid-diamond player, it's well, everyone says they're in elo hell, but I'm right in the middle of Smurf territory, so it's tough. There's lots of 25s in my gameplay, and they're decided they're going to see if they can get to GM and Symmetra, and that means they're a good player, but they don't care about you or what you want to do. So,
right.
There's just a lot of that type of things. A lot of I think things that are weighted towards carrying that in a game that isn't so carry heavy than your other first person shooters that you might have, and it's just tough for certain people that play certain roles that are a large portion of the players. So that's why we see kind of this roller coaster of people coming and going, myself included. I now have 700 hours in PUBG too. I play that quite a bit, and it's not. There are options. You don't have to depend on anybody else if you don't want to, and that's like it's like they timed it well or something. But at the end of the day, one thing that Overwatch is crushing and crushes is it's a very, very, very fun game, and that it kind of brings a lot of first-person shooters people together with MOBA players, which are the two biggest genres, right? So you can kind of scratch both itches, and I think that's why it saw the. I'm not worried about it in that the game is very, very fun when it's going well. Like when everyone's like, "Hey, let's play and actually win and try." It's extremely fun, and everyone's having a good time.
Right.
It's the things that the game itself is not meant to be played that way, or
so you're thinking it's the end of the season behavior type of thing. So
possibly,
when there's a lot of smurfing and you just kind of want to avoid it, and like kind of wait until the next season starts.
Like not today. When's everyone come back to do their placements?
Right. Exactly. So Flame, what do you think, man?
I mean, I'm not too surprised, I guess. Like other games are starting to become more popular for sure. I mean, it's kind of weird though, because I think Blizzard announced something like 350 million. It was some huge number, right? New like players at the same time, or like recently. So it's weird that they're seeing increases, but then the PC bangs are seeing decreases. But there's probably consoles, and I guess like events also bring people up. But I don't know. Overwatch still suffers from like this weird problem of like the game's more fun competitively than it is casually, and then you wind up in this spot where people start really prioritizing scrims. Or I think scrims are probably the most enjoyable way to play the game, at least with like 6 people. So like if you don't have a full stack, it's kind of hard. And then like Trevor said, you could play PUBG now. Fortnite's also really good. I mean, Destiny just came out. I'm really enjoying that too. You have a lot more options. It does feel like. I mean, Super Mario Odyssey's coming out tonight. Just throwing that out there.
This end of the year
might be gone, guys.
Crazy. This end of the year is just crazy with releases. Like really big titles, a lot of titles that people have been looking forward to. So You know, I guess as long as it's that, then there's nothing really much to worry about, you know, in terms of maybe just a droppage in the playership. You know, where it could be a problem is if, you know, we are seeing, you know, actually people just so frustrated with what's going on, right? With the matchmaking and things like that, that's actually causing people to not come back. And it would be terrible timing given that Overwatch League is about to start.
Yeah.
I got kind of a I would definitely lean towards what you guys are saying. You know, like I think that it has a lot to do with timing right now with the end of the season mixed with just a lot of these big games. So not yet is it something to worry about, I would say, but you know, I still think that something needs to be done by the end of the year, you know, for the matchmaking to be, you know, not crazy problematic because you know, there's more and more people talking about it like every day. And not even just like the hardcore, you know, like we have our subreddit, right? Obviously Cow and obviously we're super hardcore, the group, but now you're starting to see like just more and more of this talk, like seeping into like more, I don't know, the main, you know, more gaming mainstreamish type of talk. And that's when it starts to get bad. So hopefully they will do something about it really, really soon. But okay, there was also another post. Did you see that post by Modern or Flame? Like,
I read some of it, but I didn't go through it.
It was super long, man.
So I compared it to like one of Jake's massive posts, and I was like,
it was like 10 times
life.
longer than even Jake's like long.
You have to like combine all of Jake's into one at this point because it's one per week, every week for 6 months.
Yeah. And Modern, you know, for those of you that wonder who Modern is like a former player who was on, I think it was on Flash Lux. Is that right? I think he was a former like a tank on I think Flash Lux that was you know in Apex like season 2 and 3. Anyways, he's like really popular for I guess like from a standpoint of streaming, and a lot of people respect his like opinions on stream and things like that. So he posted this long diatribe about, you know, the issues with Overwatch right now and what needs to happen. So a lot of the sentiments I think a lot of us have had, at least some of them, but you know, maybe take a look at it, I don't know, maybe, but you definitely got a little bit of some traction on the subreddit yesterday, I think it was. But anyways, the big thing is just like hopefully they'll change something really soon. One thing that we have been talking about for a long time is spectating, right? And tonight we actually heard some news on spectating. So did you guys check out the latest developers update that got posted a couple hours ago? Trevor?
I did.
Yeah?
I did.
What'd you think, man? We were just kind of talking about a few things. So yeah, any initial thoughts right off the bat without seeing anything?
Well, they hit on a bunch of things that I didn't even think about that watching the Apex finals the other day, you're like, there's so much going on here, God, right? Yeah, there's something that they could change here. So the big thing for me was the uniforms are cool. For one thing, from a fan standpoint, they're going to love that just because they're in the custom, you know, colors of the team or whatever it is. But the color coding of everyone's fire and everything, and actually like being able to distinguish which tracer is teleporting around and shooting thousands of bullets a minute. Mm-hmm. Or whose pulse bomb went out. That's just that way you can get a better feel quicker, I think, for who's winning the fight, because that's the problem. Everyone's like, the casters are also talking so freaking fast that you're like, okay, they think this is winning, someone's winning it, but they're not sure either. So we don't know who's winning the fight until it's like over. And for the casual viewer, that's too much work, right? So that was all very cool. I think that the 2D overlay where it shows where everybody is and that it's like updating even to where like the dot is teleporting around with Tracer, like that's really,
it's like
really
a mini
cool.
map. It's kind of like that mini map concept that we've been
mini map, yeah. And I know that like
it's not mini though, it's big. Yeah.
CS:GO and like some league teams use the program Shadow, right? That shows they can map their like where everyone was the whole game. Okay. I think that's going to give them the ability to like later, or even the people who are running the production or whatever, that's just another tool they can use also. So it's the more just like, and I go to baseball a lot, so excuse me for that, but the watching baseball is much more excited now. And I know there's lots of people that probably don't watch baseball, but they've added a lot of that type of stuff to baseball with StatCast, with being able to add things digitally to tell you how fast the ball is being hit off a bat, not just thrown, all kinds of cool stuff that as a viewer, makes the experience just way, way, way better. So
right.
they're hitting those kind of things on the nail. So I like it. I think that following the freaking game is like without having to get a headache is what people want. That's it. So I think that will solve a lot of those problems. I think it'll be well received.
Yeah, just kind of like listing through some of the things like real quick, like TLDR for those of you that may not have seen the video. Like Trevor said, like they're going to be adding team uniforms now. So no more just red and blue like we've been just dying for like for a long time. So we'll actually have the, I guess like maybe the brand colors like associated with each of the teams. And not only that, there'll be a concept of home and away. So we'll get that classic white, but like basically white is, I guess, normally like away these days, right? And the color is home. So maybe we'll get something like that too, just during the matches. And then there's also like an interactive map, which he's talking about. And that's kind of like a 2D thing that's overlaid on top of what you normally see. And then there'll be some smart camera, third-person smart cameras, instant replays from kill feed. Game's going to pause now automatically whenever somebody disconnects. And then there'll be some automated tournament interface that will help with just humans, I guess, making errors and things like that. So those are some of the things that he just listed. There's definitely more. At least it sounded like there's more to come. But Flame, what do you think about some of these things that he just mentioned? Did you know about these actually before? Or
no, I knew some of them, but they sound like production shortcuts. They don't sound like spectating enhancements, if that makes sense. Like the uniforms and stuff is cool.
Yeah,
for the viewer, but they made the HUD I think worse in this update, the actual HUD when you're spectating. So like it came at a cost, and I don't know if I agree with it. Like it's harder now to tell who has ult at first glance. It's harder to tell what heroes are being played at first glance. So
that's
like
true.
It's like they took a lot of steps forward from a production standpoint. Like the replays from kill feed is sick, and the third person like auto director is really sick. But I don't know that the viewers get to actually use the map, or if that's something for like the spectators again. I don't think there's a mini
it's mostly for spectators and probably like casters or whatever, right?
Yeah, they made it really good for the casters, but for the average viewer, I think they made it worse. So like there was a trade-off here, and I hope that they update the HUD to like be on par with all this other stuff. Yeah, like the HUD needs more love, I think, just from a casual viewer standpoint.
Okay, that's a good point. I think the interactive map, there probably is a way to just show it by itself. I don't know if they know the most aesthetic way to show it. Like I don't know if you show it against a black background or whatever, right? Like maybe it's something like Trevor was mentioning with CS:GO, right? They have this other kind of view that shows just the general map, right?
Yeah, that's what it sounded like to me, because he was like you could see players like anywhere, so like it definitely wasn't like regionalized. It was definitely just the entirety of the
entire map, right? Yeah. So I think we'll have to figure out at least the production team will have to figure out the best practices to make it look good, whenever they do flash to it. But I know what you mean. Like, how do you know what the HUD even looks like? Like, have you seen it or something? Like,
no, I went into spec. I mean, if you go in spec on PTR, they have.
Okay. HUD, I didn't get a chance to do that.
They like moved the alt where the alt is. They like made the player icon smaller. It's weird to me. Okay. They made the fonts a little better on some of the stuff, but you can't. It's still hard to tell which team has better health. It's way harder to tell which team has ult advantage. And then it's like, there's just a few like really small things. I still think that like health should always be displayed top to bottom, not left to right. It's like really hard to tell how much health you have if you have to read a bar going left to right, as opposed to just seeing where the tick mark is on a vertical.
That's a good point. Yeah.
There's like stuff like that. That's like user experience stuff that I think still needs.
I'll have to take a look at that too. If it's hard to distinguish alt advantage, that's a big issue, right? Because
it's definitely harder than it is currently.
Okay, but can you can still see who has ult or not, right?
Yeah, you can still see as ult, but your brain, it takes a lot longer for your brain to like.
Okay, well, that could be just something to get used. It's more about getting used to than okay.
It's just objectively worse.
Okay,
it's not like a trade-off. It's just worse.
All right. Well, I mean, definitely some of these changes we've been hearing about, just kind of like rumored. So this is just the beginning. It'll be interesting to see if I'm guessing they're just going to immediately use it at World or at BlizzCon in about 7 days now. So I think we'll get a chance to see it in full action, and at least the team will have. I'm assuming they've had like at least 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks with the spectator mode to try to really rehearse with it and things like that. So I'm really excited to see what it's gonna look like. I have a feeling that the World Cup's gonna look really, really good. I hope it looks good. Hope it looks better than the Apex final. Let's just put it that way, because the Apex final was really hard to watch at certain points partially because of how good the players are, and they just wanted to focus on the players, So I can't wait to see that. But kind of moving on, if we're talking about just some more news involving like Overwatch League and things like that, we've had a lot of teams announce their brands, and it just seems like this is the week to do it, right? Just given that the October 30th date is coming up, and that's generally the cutoff for all the players to be picked up. And so we've got 3 teams that announced their brands this week. We had the Seoul Dynasty came out today, which was pretty cool with the let's see, let's just take a look at the logo here. Let me just bring it up real quick. We're like judging logos on this show. That's what we did last week, so we might as well judge this one too. So this one's a tiger. What do you guys think? Out of 1 to 10 scale, what do you guys think?
I'll give the font below. I like the font below a lot. I'll give that an 8.
Okay, you like
the Tigers up there, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, so you got an 8 and like a 6 or 7 for the logo. Okay, that's pretty good.
Font's top tier. The colors are top tier. Yeah. The logo's a little like generic for my liking. It's no Shanghai Dragons, that's for sure. Like, it's literally just a tiger head.
Yeah,
there's like some symbols in there. Yeah, I mean, it's cool, but it's definitely better than some of the other ones. But I would say that like it's not as good as their font, it's not as good as their colors.
What I said, what do you give it?
I give the font and the colors a solid 9, 10. Nice. But I give the logo probably like a 6 or a 7.
Okay, yeah.
Because like if you look at that logo initially, you're not gonna. That's the problem, right? It has to be like distinguishable.
Yeah.
When you look at it, I don't know what the word is. It doesn't necessarily look like it's a sports logo at first glance, and it also doesn't scream Overwatch to me, or like any city in particular, as opposed to like, I mean, the Boston one is kind of cool, but it felt like a flag mixed with some.
We'll talk about the Boston one in a second. We'll talk about.
I'm just saying, comparatively, it doesn't feel like a sports logo.
Okay. So you guys love the font, huh? Like, I mean, I think
some of them have pretty bad fonts.
I think it's okay. I mean, I think this font's okay. I mean, it's like 7 or something like that.
It has the lambda in it.
It does. I mean, it does have lambda. I mean, yes, I saw the lambda, but still, it's just kind of like, okay, it's cool. It's like 7. I'll give it a 7. And then the colors, I do like the colors. So I'll give the colors like a 9. Yeah, the tiger, man, I think it's a 7, but it's only because I think it just looks like an emoji or something. It doesn't really quite look like.
Yeah, and I just watched the Jungle Book on my last flight, the live action one, and I just don't like tigers after that.
But overall, I think that solid brand. Like I think just the overall emblem and everything. So next up,
skin. Wait, the Diva skin though. Forget the colors. The Diva skin.
Wait, where's the Diva
That was
skin?
pretty sick.
Let's see it.
You didn't see it. Go to the Overwatch League website.
All right, let me go to it. Hold on. It's like looking at freaking ESPN. Overwatch League. Okay. I should have just gone there in the first place. What am I doing, man? What am I doing? Okay, here we go. All right, let me go into Venture B instead. All right, here we go. Okay, the Diva skin. Oh man, that is cool.
Classy.
Dude, I want that skin, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The branding and the colors.
Totally. Yeah, that's totally cool. It's kind of like the B skin, but it's like different. It's like the opposite color.
It's like carbon mixed with the B mixed with.
Yeah, exactly.
Some royalty.
Okay, now that was one of the better like actual heroes, right, that are associated with it. So that one's definitely really cool. The next one we had was the Los Angeles Valiant, which actually let me just do the same thing for that one too. I might as well. And they, what's interesting about them is that, the one LA team is obviously the Gladiators, and this one is the Valiant or whatever, right? And I don't know, for some reason I would just think the Immortals would be more like the Gladiator type of thing, but it turns out that I guess they took that name before them. Shoot, where's the emblem? I'm trying to find it.
I mean, the question now is, what's the Gladiator's logo? Is it a helmet? Are they both helmets? Like, what else would you use to be a gladiator?
Yeah,
a sword and a shield or something? I don't know.
Oh, that's true. I guess it's not really like a centurion type of thing, right?
But I just mean like if you're gonna pick a gladiator, when I think gladiator, I think helmet.
Right.
Or like a sword, like or a helmet and a sword, and like someone fighting a tiger or something.
Right.
But that
Maybe
feels
someone
more
fighting a tiger. We don't know.
maybe
It could have been that. Yeah.
maybe a spear.
Where the
I don't
heck is
know.
it? Okay, here it is. Gosh, man, it took me forever. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, there it is. There it is. Okay, here we go. We've showed it in here. All right, so we've got a helmet. We just got, like more of a winged helmet, which is like, it's godly, right?
It feels very Skywrath Mage. I don't know if anyone
okay.
plays Dota, but it looks very
Yeah, it does.
Skywrath Mage.
That's kind of cool though. I mean, Skywrath Mage to be kind of cool. All right, what do you think of the colors? All right, same thing. Scale 1 to 10.
I like the colors too.
I like the logo. The logo is top tier. Colors are questionable. That yellow doesn't work, I don't think.
I think the logo would look much better on a darker background. I think it's just presented wrong here, like on a light gray background. So it's kind of hard to see the helmet.
Yeah, it needs like a stroke or something on the logo.
Yeah,
I think everything needs a stroke. Even the whole thing needs a stroke or something because it looks like it would look better, but it gets lost in backgrounds.
Yeah, I think so. But I do like the colors. I like the, it's kind of Baylor colors or something like that. But and the logo I think is solid. So overall, what do you think about this font? You like this font better, or you think that the Dynasty's still better?
No, and you compare this to Dynasty, this is just like
this is just regular stuff.
Yeah, it's like Times New Roman with like A's that are missing the connection.
Man,
I like it though. I'm a clean, very clean, simple. Like when I get logos and stuff. So,
yeah.
I like it. I don't know.
Generally, what people have tried it or
the logo is easily probably one of the best. It's up there with Shanghai, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it could have used maybe another color.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of weird to me that they have this green, but the green's not part of the logo. Is that weird to anybody else?
Good point.
Yeah.
There's no green outline or something, or like
like there's no green in the it's not like their colors are yellow and green, but the logo is only yellow. So like, where's the green?
Right. I know what you mean. All right. So next up, we've got Boston, and Boston's got some more news to announce too, which is the roster, which we'll talk about. But okay, here's Boston's logo as well as the font. So, okay, what do you guys think about this one? This one's different. This one's definitely not just like a picture of something. This was actually I felt more of a custom design. It's got the BU in it, right?
It feels Boston University.
Yeah, it feels like a Division III college is what it feels like.
But it looks like it'd be sick on like a flag hanging down from something.
Yeah. Oh, it's because
because that would be on a banner or something like that. That would
like
be
a banner.
sick. Yeah. I feel like it would be so much better if there wasn't yellow in it. Like the yellow just like seems like off, at least in the logo. I know they have
another weird problem. That's what I mean. The colors are weird for me, some of these, because their logo is just one shade. I don't like the one shade logos because there's no contrast and you don't get to keep the team's colors in the logo. I feel like you need your team's colors in the logo. So like there's a straight up problem here this is just me like spitballing, but like why isn't there yellow in the logo?
There is yellow in the logo. What are you talking about?
No, there's yellow in the name. The logo was just a solid white.
No. Are you looking at the same thing I'm looking at, dude?
Staring at their Twitter.
Look, the thing that has a B and a U, like the thing that we're talking about, that kind of merger. Trevor, if you can back me up here.
Go to their Twitter.
Yeah, there's yellow there.
There's yellow. There's yellow.
The one on Twitter, no, I know what you mean. The one on Twitter is different.
It's not even centered.
Ignore the Twitter one. Ignore the Twitter one. This is their logo. That has
the one they put on their Twitter is different than that.
Yeah, that's weird. Now I'm confused.
Okay, that's kind of weird. but I think this is their logo because I think their colors are like yellow, blue, and I guess black too, right? But I don't mind the custom design. It's definitely different. It's not something you've seen before, obviously, but I just
that looks so sick. Why didn't they make that their Twitter? Oh my god!
Yeah, the one on Twitter.
I need to look at
the one in the announcement's really nice looking.
You guys are like,
Twitter
okay, let's see what the one on Twitter. I don't even know what it looks like.
The one on Twitter literally looks like an online university.
So. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The other one looks better.
Okay, let me look.
And it's not centered, and it's kind of fuzzy.
Oh shit. Okay, this is the one on Twitter. All right. I get it now. Okay, that is not. A
Wait,
great one.
why are people flaming me for saying it's sick? It's like it's clean. It gives you the team colors. It gives you the team name in it, and it's like stylized as a logo. Like you look at it and you see the B and the U, so automatically you think Boston. Like
it's just the yellow for me, man. Like the yellow, just the outlining of it just seems off to me. Like I almost think that one, either the blue or the black shade in the logo probably should have been some kind of darker yellow.
I mean, people like I hate when people are commenting on the colors being ugly because like the Mets have some of the ugliest colors. Like orange and blue don't go together, but like eventually you see it enough times you get used to it. Do they really though?
Dude,
is orange and blue
Gators,
better than orange and yellow or blue and yellow? I think blue and yellow is better.
I'm not saying blue and yellow is bad. I'm just saying like I just have a hard time. Like again, this could be like a background issue, but I have a hard time even seeing the yellow because it's white. It's like it's really really tough that way. But okay, same thing. Font 1 through 10.
I like the font too.
I actually like the font. I actually like the font.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm
looks
gonna give
custom.
Yeah, exactly right. It looks video game-ish too to me. So I give it a 9. I give the font a 9. Logo.
This one's hard because like it could be better, but it's also not bad.
I'll give it a 6.
I'll give it a 7, I think.
Okay. All right.
I like how Boston's written. That's like what they use for literally all their other teams. Like the Red Sox. It's very close. Like the B is not stylized, but when they have their block letters on their unis. It's like,
okay. Yeah, it's definitely cool. All right, and if we kind of bring up some of the just the past ones that we were talking about before, and just for folks that might not have remembered, or it has the Valiant on there too. All right, so which one is the worst logo so far? Are we still on the Shock as the worst logo?
Yeah, that's not
okay. Trevor,
looks like a WNBA team.
I mean, we still struggle with the logo. We still don't even know what the logo is. Like, is it just
the little sound waves that are supposed to be the bridge?
Yeah,
I mean, that's kind of, but
that's the logo. Isn't that the logo?
No, it's like a little stylized SF, I think, that like people have on their streams, but for some reason it's nowhere to be found on their Twitter. So
okay, if that's the case, that would be better because right now
the name is the logo. That's why I think it's a WNBA team. They don't have logos; they just have their name in some stylized writing.
True.
Maybe that logo's not done. Maybe they're still waiting for it.
That's true. Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe the copyright didn't go through, and they're afraid of someone sniping it.
Oh, you think
or
so?
The trademarking, rather. Yeah. I say copyright as a trademark.
I don't know about that. Wow. But anyways, it's all good and fun, guys. We're just having some fun with some of these. I mean, overall, it's really, really cool to start seeing some of the team logos, and really, this is starting to become more and more real, obviously. At least in the eyes of all of us who are just fans. But let's talk about the roster for Boston, because that was like one of the big things that also was announced. Just the video with Huck, talking or introducing the roster. So Boston's roster was one of the most talked about or rumored thing or gossipy thing that was going on, like in the subreddit. People saying that, oh, it's crap. Some people saying, oh, it's not as bad as everybody thinks, and everything. Well, it's finally out there. It's Striker, Gamsu, Kalios, Mistakes, Snow, Dreamcasper, Kelix, Note, and head coach is Krusty. Assistant coach is Shake, Mini, and analyst Mr. Bleeple. So yeah, first thing I have to say is first thing I noticed right off the bat is that almost none of those guys have name recognition, I think, for the general competitive Overwatch audience. I think a lot of players and people, that really, really follow these teams super closely, like all the teams, will know who these guys are. But for the most part, I bet most people don't even know even one of them. Would you agree with that?
No.
No?
Gamsu and Mistakes are pretty if you watched anything in the past 6 months, you'll know who Gamsu and Mistakes are.
Yeah, okay. If you watch Korean okay. That's true. I give you that. But for the most part, I just feel like, there is out of all the rosters, there's probably the least amount of name recognition on this.
It's the least obviously marketable.
Yes.
Or I'll give it that.
Yeah. Trevor, what do you think about this roster?
Same. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
It's the least obviously marketable. There is a distinct correlation between people put in place to run the teams, the owners of the teams, and kind of what they bring to the table, and then how these teams are being presented, and or even put together. So, like, Huck. This is a very Huck team from what I've heard.
What does that even mean? Like,
so
it's a very Huck team.
He was back and forth a lot. I've talked to him quite a bit.
Okay.
It doesn't. Let's just put it. It doesn't surprise me. And again, like, I know who two people are. So it is the least marketable team, and a lot of teams are kind of going in the super marketable because it is the first season, and it's important to have an element of that. You know, the very recognizable names.
Yeah.
At least get a couple of them on your team so that you can get the ball rolling.
You can get the fan base going, you know what I mean? Things like that, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things I've heard, from just around the community is just that the Boston team tried out probably the most people too.
Yeah.
And maybe that's, because they tried out so many people, maybe that's another reason why it resulted in, in just just the array of different players that they could have chosen from was just greater. But it is a bit surprising because, some of these guys I wouldn't say are necessarily like way better than some of the guys still without teams, that do have more name value. So I'm pretty curious as to, like why they chose these guys. I mean, if you win in the end, it doesn't matter, right? Like these guys will make names for themselves if the Boston team ends up just destroying everybody. But if you don't, then you have nothing to fall back on. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be, the least talked about team if they don't do anything here. So funny. Like, what do you think? What do you think about building a team like this? I mean, I think this team is actually not that bad though. Like, I wouldn't say some people, it's going to be last team.
No, I mean, people are complaining.
I don't
about
think so.
Toronto esports players, but like, whatever, man. The problem that I have with the roster is that they announced 8 players instead of 10. So, like, naturally, you're going to get a lot more hate, I think. Like, for all I know, they have 2 really good players, or, like, 2 superstar, marketable, last-minute pickups that maybe just became available.
They picked up 2 people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, like, maybe if you add those 2, this roster just sounds, like, good, and then they have some really good subs, Like, I don't know who those last 2 are. Usually I'm on top of this, but I have not been doing my homework on the Boston roster. That said, though, I've heard really good things about Krusty, like from other people, especially Korean coaches. Mm-hmm. So like that's a huge point that I think people are overlooking is how good is the coaching staff. I've spoken to Shake a few times. He seems like a very competent person, and smart and good at the game. Mm-hmm. So like they have a pretty strong head and assistant coach. I don't know much about Mini or Bleeple, but just from Shake and Krusty, I'm sure that's like a massive pickup. Mistakes is obviously good. Gemps is obviously good. It really comes down, like this team will come down to like how well Note performs and how well I think like Striker performs, because Kalios is also really good. So like this team's strong. It's just a matter of who are their last 2 pieces. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It does seem like Huck kind of went for more like I want the humble, quiet team that I can like coach up and make really good versus like the personalities. Like some teams I think are going to have too many personalities, and this team might not have enough. So like. But I don't know that. I don't know all of these players on a personal level to know, maybe one of them has really strong personalities. But it is going to be interesting to me how this team functions because they're kind of going down that Immortals road where they mix like half Korean with half
that's
North American.
Right.
And then you wind up in like this weird spot where like it might work short term, but then does it work long term? Are the coaches prioritizing Korean players over North American players? Because I know that that's like a thing. That some Korean coaches are like very pro-Korean, some European coaches are very pro-European, and then like just have like these weird biases that don't translate well into success. But I've heard good things about Krusty, and I know Shake is like a good person, so I'm assuming that this team can do well. I don't think that they're going to be the bottom. I think the other teams will be.
I mean, hell, Shake could just step in whenever, anytime too to play if he wanted to. Exactly. No, you make a good point, man. The diversity and just the nationality here. I mean, we're talking like NA, EU, and Korea, and Russia too. Like all represented here. So it's going to be super diverse. Communication's obviously been one issue that lots of people have brought up. Coaches and analysts and everything. So That's going to be one challenge for this group for sure. If they don't all speak English very well. I mean, I'm assuming English is going to be at least what they'll try to communicate in, just being some kind of.
I will say though, as like a side note, that a lot of players are just, I mean, people who like to, what's the word, rank players or whatever, aren't so in tune with the personalities in game. And like some players are very good stream personalities or very good like just IRL personalities, but then in game or like in a team setting they become like toxic and like awful people to be around. So like maybe Huck is prioritizing personality here more than other teams are, and like not forcing the name value thing. I don't know. There's a lot of potential here because again, he does have this nice underdog story going for him now. He does have like, if the team performs well, he'll look a lot better. And if the team performs poorly, I mean, people expect that. So like they do have this nice, I don't know what the word is, like people won't expect anything from them, which takes pressure off them. And then when they do perform, if they do perform, it'll just be really good for them all.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And I think it comes back to what you said. They tried out so many players that Huck and the guys making the decisions obviously have their process and the things they're looking for. And it probably developed through the entire process of trying people out. But when you see hundreds of players, you kind of narrow down and shave down what you're looking for. So I think it probably has elements of they found a really good leadership role that plays a role that allows them to shot call, and maybe these three guys have the ability to communicate really well in English. That could have come because when half your team playing is Korean and the other three are speaking English, there has to be some sort, with the amount of communication in this game, there has to be some sort of barrier there that needs to be overcome, because you're just creating problems for yourself that you're going to be starting on the back foot anyway. So, but like I said, when you see that many players, you from what I can gather, and obviously not being told explicitly, but there is a process there, and that gives you kind of hope that
it's not random, guys.
It's either going to work or
you know what I
mean?
No, he touched on it. He touched on it in his. I want to say is like he was doing like that 20 questions thing on Twitter. But he touched on it a bit where he was like every team's going to have their own style, I guess is the word, or like their own priorities. Yeah, and like he went with the tryouts. Some teams didn't do tryouts. Some teams bought full rosters. Some teams mixed full rosters. I mean, some teams bought 2 full rosters. Like it's a philosophy versus philosophy battle at that point. Some teams went all-star players. Some teams went no-star players. And I think that that's going to be one of the interesting storylines for the league in general. But I will say that there is value in getting a team of people who feel like they need to prove themselves and will probably work together to prove themselves. So going from that angle, there's definitely potential. And like, I don't know, I think people are being overly critical right now, but they have some very powerful players on this roster. Like you can't straight up say it, like, I don't know, for all like Dreamcast could be playing like flex support or something, and maybe he's just going to be grinding it. The other thing that people have to realize too is that the season doesn't start until January, and it doesn't end for like a really long time after that. So there's a lot of time for this team to figure out where their strengths are and make additions if they need, or it's making bold claims like, oh, this team's going to finish last, like now is kind of,
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, outside of like a few of the teams, I mean, every single team is going to have to learn how to play with each other. Like there's only 3 teams I think that actually have full rosters that are that will be playing, and they.
Well, I think that that's like a disadvantage, to be honest, to have a full team coming in, because if your team's peaking now, what do you think they're going to get better? Like that's another question. Some teams will probably maintain their peak, but I think I had this conversation recently about like players that. Like where's the player's peak and have they hit it yet? And like how much better can a player get? And I think some teams are like at their peak now and have peaked because they've like tasted victory too much or something. Like there's like weird mentality philosophies here that like I think go into it, but I think that there's something scary about a team that has no pressure on them, that people expect to fail, that can come in here and just make themselves better as a unit as opposed to as individuals.
Well, it's hunger, right? I mean, it's one of those things like when you're sitting on top of the hill. I mean, we've talked about it even in terms of the meta, right? Like when teams are good because of a certain meta, they don't change. Like they don't try to develop, innovate like into the next meta because it's just you don't have to. Like you don't have to do it until somebody's knocked you off your pedestal, right? So yeah, I know definitely know what you mean. Really curious to see how this team ends up playing out. I think this now that Boston's just now that we're going to start seeing more and more of the rosters, we're going to start developing storylines around each of them. So yeah, this will be more of an underdog thing, I think, with them. But man, that'll be an incredible story if it ends up working out for them. Another roster that I think it's not officially confirmed, but many sources I feel like have been confirming at this point, including even I think even Jacob was like wrote an article about. But C9 Kangdu has bought the GC Busan roster, which we're about to talk about Apex, but you can kind of figure out what happened in Apex. But GC Busan is definitely one of the teams that a lot of people were pointing at, like, if they don't make the first season of the Overwatch League, that's just going to be ridiculous. It's almost like a little bit of a blemish to the league. If the team that just won Apex, or doesn't make it into the league. So that's obviously not going to be the case now. So we see what is essentially Kangdu Panthera and GC Busan combined. Are we going to get a super team here, guys, or are we just going to see just kind of a mess, and we're going to have to see how it plays out? What do you guys think?
Six LeBrons.
Yeah, we've seen that, right? Just
what you need,
team full of all-stars, that can be a problem, right? Especially in the same positions, and like who's going to be their tracer? Like it's going to be sick. What do you think?
Weird.
Yeah, I think it's gonna not work. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm not sold on the rosters, to be honest with you. I mean, Busan won Apex, and this will be probably an unpopular opinion that people will flame me for, but I think that if Team Lunatic High had Fleta and Munchkin on their team during the season, they would have like slaughtered Busan. I think Busan played really well. I think that they have like some of the best team chemistry in the game, but I think like tit for tat, some of their players aren't as I don't know what the word is. Like people have this weird mentality where like the best team is automatically has the best players, as opposed to like, could I make upgrades here or there?
Oh, you can definitely.
I think like Busan's strength is in their team. It's not in their individual parts. Like the team Busan is really good, but I don't know that if you split them up into different pieces, they stay that good. So I don't know how good it is if you start taking out Profit and put in Burgering. And like if you pull out, I forget who their tank is. It's like,
Fissure?
I'm so tired today, and I have not watched.
No, Gesture.
Yeah, if you take out Gesture and put in Fissure, or like mix them at the same time, like there's so much potential for just stuff to go wrong.
You can't go wrong with those two. I mean, we're talking like two of the best tracers.
But you can, right? You can if there's alliances in the team before it starts. Right. If like 4 players are friends, and then you have you're mixing friend groups now and teams that have biases, and like maybe this support thinks that he's better than that support, but they're now on the same team. I don't think that these teams plan to be on the same team. And stuff like that's like a big deal. You can say like, okay, I could mix Envious with Lunatic High and make a super Lunatic High Envious team, but like, would it really be better than either Lunatic High or Envious? And like, that's the question that I have here, because I think Busan's really good, but I think Busan is good because they're Busan, not because they have 6 players that are really good.
Sure.
And that's like a scary, it's not scary, but that's like something to think about.
Yeah.
Like, will this team be able to mix these 2 parts? Will these 2 parts work well together? Will there be communication issues? Do you know who the shot caller is on Busan versus who the shot caller is on Kangdu? Can you mix the 2 roles? Is there suddenly now a really talkative tank with a very talkative support and a very talkative DPS? Like, where were the holes in the team that started? And then what are you filling and replacing? So there's like, I mean, even back to what we were saying about like Boston, mixing superstar players all together doesn't work if you just look at the history of Overwatch. I mean, like, the most famous case was the old NRG roster. Like, everyone's like, oh my God, Friends stream team, but like, it just fell on its face. And I think that that's like,
well, Friends stream team, those weren't necessarily like, they weren't necessarily the best players either.
No,
like,
people are like, Seagull, IDD, QD, let's get all these. Like, I mean, you could, at the time, they were probably some of the best players. But my point being that, like, you can't just like pull cultures together.
Well,
team cultures.
Definitely.
And throw them into a pot and say, here's a good team.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen many instances of this, right? And even in sports, right, Trevor? I mean, even in your sport, I mean, there are egos, there is chemistry, there's such things as all of those things, and look at even just the two teams in the World Series right now. They're not all-star teams, right? I mean, they're literally not like the best players at every single position playing on these two teams. So yeah, well, I mean, what's your take? I mean, do you think that it's possible to make a team that's like an all-star team and have it be successful in Overwatch or even in just sports generally? I mean, is it?
Yeah, it's absolutely possible. But again, if the chemistry's not there, then none of that matters. So like part of creating the super team is there is someone there that creates the chemistry amongst the players, because it's crazy you bring that up too. I've had a lot of conversations about in not only just Overwatch, but every esport, things that are kind of overlooked because of the nature of video games is the human aspect that people are playing the game. People are pressing the keys and looking at a screen and making decisions in their brains. Now, the computer's not doing everything. So there is always going to be an element when two humans are playing each other in a competitive atmosphere that there has to be some way to determine, analyze the people, and their inherent, emotional intelligence and their chemistry with each other. And, you're going to get a kid who's 16, 7 or 18, right? Who's literally never left his home or has not traveled much at all, or doesn't fly well, or doesn't, never been on stage, or whenever he's on stage, he has to be put somewhere because he's not used to being, I've heard stories of kids having to call pauses because they were hyperventilating. So these are all things that happen, and there's going to be, and we can always go back to the Boston team, same thing. Like hopefully that's part of their process, putting the people and the personalities best way you can. So even in baseball, you're drafted, you're having interviews with like your scout. Your scout knows you as a person. He can tell you this kid's super hardworking, obviously by his high school, whatever, he gets good grades. All these things are factored into you being drafted. So just smashing two teams together, obviously. And I know that's not what they're trying to do, but it feels more of a publicity, like hype machine thing than anything else. So you really need to know your players, and you need to know what they're willing to do. There's another thing that's a kind of a rampant problem. I think that's been kind of a thorn in the side of esports since it's really in the last 15 years is it's hard to learn professionalism and structure when you're playing in your house and you can leave or turn off the computer whenever you want, or just not show up for stuff. And there's an element of like structure that you learn. And it's important that teams know that about you, that you're like, I show up practice, I take this very seriously, not because I've already played, whatever, but that is an element of something they need to know. So as you put a team together, you need to identify those things. Like you said, some people like to talk when they're playing the whole time, even if they're not the main shot caller, or they like to get overzealous, right? Because video game culture is very gotcha, like BMing. So we've seen that. We saw that in World Cup last year, where people get a little bit overzealous in front of their team and they get picked and they lose the next team fight. Knowing that stuff, knowing what type of guy you're player, and putting the right people around to keep those people in check, and then also the kind of rah people that bring the people out of their shell, adding that all together. It's baseball. Last year, the Minnesota Twins lost 103 games. We were one of the worst teams in the history of baseball. We had no leaders, none. Like nobody spoke after we lost. We added a few guys this year. We had the biggest turnaround in the history of baseball.
Exactly.
So, I can honestly say that 80% of it, we had the same team. 80% of it was that addition of chemistry. Like two guys made the difference. They didn't even make a huge difference on the field. They made a big difference in the clubhouse.
Yeah, so it's just leadership.
It is extremely important.
But it's good leadership, right? Yeah. That's like another key thing there. It's like, right, like it could have been one person who was just tilting the entire team, and suddenly it got even worse, right? And I think that's like kind of my point here is that like it doesn't sound like it was a decision made with a lot of
thought.
Yeah,
it's more of just Well, when you buy an entire roster, I think when you buy an entire roster like that, it's easy to point that out because, like you said, it's unless you're planning on just using them. If they were the first 6 players, that'd be one thing, right? But we're talking about these are the last 6 players, so it's even more of like questionable in terms of like how this is going to work out. And that team changes a lot too. You know, like we thought we knew what it was, right? Now it's like something completely different, and yeah, it's going to take some time. We might even see some players drop off. Who knows? Like, I know the rosters have to be confirmed, but Flame, like, can you, if there's something, like, let's say a player's just very disgruntled and you just don't want him anymore, like, are you allowed to just like waive him? Like, just get rid of them? Are we allowed to drop players from these teams?
I don't know how contracts work because there's like an enactment date where like the contract starts. So I don't know if you can like terminate it before then. I don't know if it's like in good faith that won't happen.
I mean, you might have to still pay the guys. So I mean, obviously that would suck.
Hopefully.
But, yeah,
you can definitely cut people, but you have to pay them their whole salary.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
part of the Overwatch League deal.
Yeah,
which is great. Which is really good. Yeah. My opinion, like these guys, they need these like
insurance policies.
Things, yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so again, like another storyline for that roster too. So this is starting to become pretty spicy. This is going to be fun, you know, like once the season starts and we see how these things come together. More teams obviously coming soon. I mean, we've only touched on like maybe half the league, so I think that you know, we're going to be seeing a bunch in the next week leading up to BlizzCon, and I'm sure BlizzCon
know
will
like
full.
How many rosters do we know? Like 3?
I think so. I think like the Boston now. We know
like Boston,
we know
Seoul,
Valiant. We know the Valiant's roster.
Do we know the whole thing? I don't think we do.
Know most of them. We know most.
Yeah, I mean we know most of them for a bunch of teams, but like we don't know the full thing for anything but 2.
We don't know. Yeah, we don't know the full one for barely any of them.
I'm just saying there's a lot of announcements to be made between now and BlizzCon.
Yeah, we'll see if the whole Overwatch, like, you know, when during the keynote, if the entire Overwatch section is just announcing these teams and rosters. I hope not, man.
I would assume that they're trying to avoid that.
I hope not. I hope there's a separate
Why would you want
thing.
your team hype to be overlooked, or what's the word? Overshadowed by BlizzCon? I don't think you do.
Okay. Well, we'll see what ends up happening. There has to be something big at BlizzCon. That's just, I mean, I don't foresee there being giant game stuff, you know, like there's going to be a new character, there'll be a new map or something, maybe a new animation, but
I hope that there's a new hero.
That's not enough. I mean, we gotta go
last
big,
year,
dude.
Last year was so weird because Sombra got announced like a long time ago, and then Sombra showed up at BlizzCon, and I remember there were streamers, I think it was like, I don't think Seagull was there because Seagull was playing, but there were a few streamers that were stuck at BlizzCon just playing 66 Sombra the entire time. I don't know why that, like, it's like some crazy torture, but maybe there'll be a new hero and that'll happen again.
There has to be a new hero. What do you mean? Like, what are they going to announce?
There hasn't even been hints.
Dude. Trevor, what are they going to announce at BlizzCon, dude? I mean,
it's
got to be a new hero.
Remember, we heard the Terry Crews thing with Doomfist forever before, though, right?
Yeah.
So, like, who?
Yeah, well,
I don't know. It's Blizzard, man.
You think that they're just going to drop a new hero in and be like, surprise?
Well, okay. I mean, to your point that
we has her own game now.
Yeah,
I mean,
just a spin-off game called May.
If Overwatch they don't 2. Announce a new hero, I'm going to be so disappointed.
No, they can't announce new heroes. It has to be done.
I mean, well, they announce a hero, then they put it in PTR. All right, it's that. Okay. They have to do that. If they don't do that,
what about that space monkey? There was a monkey that like didn't like Winston.
Yeah. I mean, there's that, or the queen, or I mean, there's
the queen of Junkertown.
Yeah, there could be any of those things. Soundquake. Yeah, that's true. All right. But anyways, enough speculating about BlizzCon. We can speculate some more, maybe on Tuesday or whatnot. But a few bits of news, and we'll
just a new game.
Yeah, just a new game.
Overwatch Hearthstone.
Exactly.
New spin-off for competitive.
Yeah, we haven't got a chance to talk World Cup with you at all, Trevor. So all the teams are boot camping right now. I know USA is like, you know, in the midst of that right now. Yeah, but what's your take on the whole World Cup event, Trevor? Like, super excited, super hype. You're going to be watching that for the most part at BlizzCon, or what's your plans?
Yeah. I'll be catching as much as I can.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome. Like, anything that, like, the whole premise of regionalizing teams, franchising, that's still kind of, I mean, the coin's up in the air for me with a lot of stuff, like how quickly that's going to be adopted, like how quickly like cities are going to be like, yeah, shocked. You know, I don't really. Actually, San Francisco probably has the best chance of going quick, but some of these other traditional places maybe. But the World Cup, the one thing everyone always identifies right away is country. So like. And there's just so many really good players spread out that you can see some matchups and some things, with the exception of kind of Korea crushing everybody. But there's some really, really good teams. So
we had basically a mini version of what we're seeing with all the Overwatch League teams when we did the committees. So, like the Overwatch, the World Cup teams are like a miniature product of this process already. So, the USA team there were a bunch of players that some people were like, oh, really? Wow. And so, it'll be interesting to see what happens there too, right? Like the Korean team is again, I think a little bit of a mixture, right? It's still primarily most of a single team, but I think there could be a chance that maybe they don't perform quite up to speed like in that first round. That's what everybody's hoping, right? Everybody's hoping that
someone beats them. Yeah,
the U.S. pulls that upset. Exactly. If the U.S. upsets that's going to be just the biggest
movie
news
Miracle.
It
beat Russia and hockey.
Exactly. Just to make sure we win the rest of it.
I don't think it's that. That's a stretch.
Overwatch, hockey, 1990.
I mean, I just meant I don't think it's that big of an obstacle. I think USA can probably do it. If there was ever a patch and a team that can pull it off, I think it's this one.
Oh man,
that'd be awesome.
Oh man,
great for the game.
That would be amazing for the game. That'd be amazing for the event too. So
I mean,
all the Korean fans are just
booing
me right now.
They have one of the better Zens. Rocket Zen is obviously really good. Fact Fiction's really good. Cool Match really good. The whole team is just really good. And then Lunatic High Team South Korea just got smashed last week against.
Did they? I didn't watch that.
They got 3-0'd, but I forget the name of the team because again, it's almost midnight.
Okay.
But they got smashed by a challengers team, and apparently, Ryu Jae Hong is not playing on. He's playing Lucio, and Toby's playing Mercy or something. So the team is actually just in this weird.
Wait. Were they just goofing off?
It's Element Mystic. That was the team.
So they weren't goofing off.
Really good. No, they weren't goofing off. It was a good. It was a good match to watch.
Man. Okay. Interesting. Well, they do have an issue with Mercy there. I can see that.
I mean. Hold on. I want to fact check myself before I say something.
Okay. I'm definitely excited, and obviously there's a lot of other great matchups too, and China's really good too, by the way, guys. I think a lot of people are just sleeping on China, and China's going to be super strong. We've already seen some of their teams go head to head with the Korean teams in the last week or two. So, anyways, while he's doing that one, update a few more things. C9 raised their Series A, 25 million. So we've been talking about that for a while, and they finally closed on that thing, which is huge. That involves some athletes too, your fellow MLB player Hunter Pence, and I think a few. Are there any other athletes in that? I forget. I'll have to look here. I think Hunter Pence was maybe the only one. But lots of big names too just involved. If you guys want to definitely check out the article here, Jacob has an article he released on Sunday, I think. Sunday. So Tuesday. So it's in our notes too. If you ever want to check out our notes, you can always find that in the comments here. Did you fact check it? You good to talk about it now?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was gonna say you have this team with 2 DPS players that nobody's seen in I don't know, 4 months. How long has it been since Luxury Watch Blue has played in front of a crowd?
I know, right? It was I know. Well, I mean, if it's Flower,
you're mixing that.
It's Flower. I mean, geez. How bad can Flower get?
I'm not saying it can get bad. I'm just saying do you know the synergy on that team? It's I don't know.
Well, they're working it out now.
There's reasons to think that they might not be as good comparatively as they were.
In the armor.
Yeah, chinks in the armor.
There's some weaknesses.
Playing in America too, man. Don't underestimate.
They've got Sinatra, the 150K miracle kid. Yeah. It's coming in to take some names.
A miracle kid.
Korean.
So, I want to know if the teams they're not going to be. Will they be in booths, or are they going to be out in the open where the freaking crowd can just roar? Because that's going to be
There's not any booths. Are you kidding me? It's illegal to have booths in California or something.
I hope not. I hope there's not, man, so that they can just hear us roar.
Of course they're going to hear us roar. It's going to be the same stage as last time.
Yeah, it's where
it's going to be the exact same one in the arena, you think? Okay.
Probably.
they're just gonna move.
There's not gonna be boots. There's not gonna be a roof or
Yeah.
glass. I will
Okay.
guarantee.
Because
there's
that
not glass.
you know, that room can get loud, dude.
Of course, it can get loud. The
Yeah.
the USA chants are gonna be in full force. You just gotta tilt them.
Dude, I've heard it when StarCraft 2 went, you know, it's gone crazy. So USA competing in that room is going to be epic, awesome, and you're gonna have Captain playing in the front too. You know, I'm sure. So it's gonna be good stuff. Another bit of news: they had 2 retirement announcements. Too easy. You know, definitely just a long time.
I'm so surprised.
in Winghaven also. Both these guys are announcing retirements. So long timers. They've been around since the beginning of beta, right?
They actually started on the same team.
Yeah. Oh, did you? Oh,
they did. I think, right? I'm pretty sure it was
Splay.
Reunited Winghaven and Reunited.
Oh no, they started. I thought you said you started. Yeah. I was like, they were on Splay. What? Okay, yeah. I think they did start on the same team. So kind of sad, but at the same time, like you said, I mean, they really haven't had too much going on, and they haven't played that much, you know, like in the last few months too. But yeah, so just some more, you know, obviously players. We're gonna see more and more of that, I'm sure. But okay, why don't we talk a little bit about Apex? Like we definitely spent a lot of time on the Overwatch League now, but Apex. So GC Busan versus Runaway. This is like the grand finals everybody was kind of hoping for going into the playoffs, and they did not disappoint. They went the distance, went to Game 7, and you know, to be honest, almost every single map was close. Like I wouldn't say there were any like huge blowouts in any of them. Right off the bat too, just like their you know, just the Game 1 in Nepal was like super close too. So anything you guys want to talk? I mean, we can just talk about anything here, just to kind of throw out whatever you want to throw out in terms of like the games and any of the drama, anything.
I just want to know if Runaway had won the last map, would they be
the ones bought by C9?
Yes, that is the only question I have about these finals. I enjoyed them. It was a good series. Like you could see the strategic plays. Like it was interesting because I'm pretty sure Busan started off with Prophet on Tracer for like the first 3 maps, then the last 3 maps he switched to Genji. Yeah. Like that was cool to see.
Genji too. Wow.
And like their DPS are obviously very flexible, but I mean that's the real thing that sticks out in my mind is would it be Runaway Panthera? C9,
oh my god, that's
C9 run Panthera, run DMC, run C9. God,
run K.
Come do away.
Exactly. Run KDC.
Run KD. Run KD.
KDC. Yeah. Oh my god, that'd be hilarious. But yeah, I mean, I kind of noticed the same thing too. I mean, it was interesting to see Prophet switch over to Genji, and he's really good on Genji. He was so fluid on Genji. It just kind of surprised me that you know, he was able to play both just as well, and Hurag playing Tracer too. That was that was interesting. But Trevor, how did you enjoy the match, or anything pretty hype match for you too?
Oh yeah, when I watch things like that, I always compare. Like, I'm big on, if I'm going to watch a professional play a game I play like for hundreds and hundreds of hours, I'm going to try to pick up as much as I can from them as possible.
Yeah.
Of course, like you said, the way that both teams adjust to each other is like, that's kind of where you can tell why they were in the finals, because you so often you see guys come in with their comps. They can adjust like a little bit one way or the other. They have a couple guys who can play other things, just not as well, and then they either, you know, it works or they get stomped, and it's just kind of goes from the beginning to the end. This was so back and forth, and it was crazy too because you know, not knowing that much about the teams, not seeing them as much as you guys probably have. Just kind of, I had to rely a little bit more on like what commentators were saying, and kind of how each team was stronger on different maps, you know, map types, and then sure enough, the other team they adjusted at that point, and then there were a couple that flipped the other way, one and not the way that they're like, oh wow, the team we didn't think was going to win this one won. And it happened a couple times. It happened like 4 times out of the 7. And so that, like, as a viewer, you're like, okay, what's going on here? Something's happening that doesn't usually happen. So, but just picking out, like, even because I play Diva quite a bit, man, the Diva play on both sides is because
Super
you
good.
follow Tracer around quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
And the amount of time Tracer was shooting into nothing for a diva that was played the way she is now was staggering. I think that and just I'm just a casual, but just this the a lot of times the supports were like the last people alive too, which is rare in team fights. They're always down, and that's what ends the fight. So the way they were protected by the rest of their team, and the team fights went so long, and that's why it was so evenly matched the whole time. It's just from a general like viewer standpoint, it was really, really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the maps were determined by just who had the better diva, like who was actually protecting better. At least 2 or 3 of those maps, I would say, was decided by that.
There are a lot of really big support mistakes. I just remembered. It feels like I haven't watched.
That
it feels like this was so long ago, but there were so many like really botched ults in the entire throughout the series.
The Transcendence was killer.
Yeah, I mean, but then there was. I'm pretty sure Anubis involved like some comp where they just didn't run a second support. And on offense, and they just like kept bashing this Reaper Tracer comp into them, and then one of the players would die, and they never cap. And like that was the entirety of Anubis. Like when you look at it, it's like okay, their comp was bad and they didn't execute it, or like their comp had a window to win and they didn't win in that window.
And like it's always that first attempt, and then they just keep trying.
Well, if you snowball with the comp they had, they could have easily done it, but I mean they didn't. So that was like the entirety of Anubis. And then I remember watching Eichenwald, and I think the map before it, and there were so many support ult mistakes. And the matches, like I feel like Busan could have easily capitalized on them.
Mm-hmm.
I think Cox is like way better at DPS. He's kind of like Jaehong. Not that Jaehong's bad at support, but I feel like he has like this innate ability to just play DPS, and it's like arguably stronger.
So what? Like playing Ana and playing Zen? I mean, what do you mean?
No, I mean like when you see Jaehong go 76, you're like, damn, this guy's good. Or like when Harry goes, when Harry switches to 76, you're like, wow.
Yeah.
I think that's like kind of Cox's strength, but I don't think Cox's support ult timings are as good as his hit scan and like deathmatch ability. So like my favorite iteration of Runaway throughout the season was when they played, I want to say, I forget who they beat during the season, but I remember it was like Haxel and Lucio, and I think that was probably the strongest they've ever looked. Not to take anything away from Haxel, away from them, but with Cox on DPS and a Lucio that's like fragging and everywhere that he needs to be, that team looked really, really strong.
Who was playing Genji?
They didn't. They had Cox playing like McCree and stuff.
Oh my god. Okay.
It was nuts, but it was like I think that was when they looked the best.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting.
Because their ult timings were just better.
I think what you're talking about is they had in Anubis they had 2/3 or they had 66%, and they had like a 6-4 advantage or something, and he used beat with the advantage, and then other Lucio came out and beat and kept both supports alive long enough for the whole team to come back. And they had a distinct advantage for like a really long time and didn't win the fight because the beat was used way too early. Like just point that's why
I just felt like there were definitely transes that I remember on Eichenwald that were just like, what is happening? Like everyone's just hitting Q all of a sudden, and it's like I don't know if it's like stage nerves or
really close to W. It's usually my problem.
No, I think
that's also true.
It was just
some
panicky.
People,
I mean, some of them were just, I think, a little bit panicky.
But, and there were a lot of like, oh, their Lucio beated, guess I should beat too. But, like,
exactly.
Realistically speaking, it was like a one-man beat or something. But like, that's what I mean when it goes back to, how high tier was the play. Like, if teams are making really, really big mistakes, then like you question how good it is. Does that make sense? It's like there was like. It's hard to explain because people get mad when you say like, "Oh, Busan's not the best" or something. It's like if you're constantly hitting like 1 or 2 man beats throughout a series, but your team's winning Apex, like, can you say that they're bad? No, but like, can you say that there's better plays that could have been made? Sure. And like, I think if you're like trying to go for like that pinnacle of Overwatch, like the top of Overwatch League, the ult usage needs to be cleaner from both of these teams. And like, that's kind of where I was going in the sense of like, will this team finish #1 in Overwatch League? And it's like,
yeah, but you're comparing against like this ideal situation where they are playing for the finals. I mean, we're talking about games 6 and 7 that were probably the sloppiest, right? And I mean, it was kind of getting down to nitty gritty. I mean, there were some issues too, but I think the last 2 games were a bit, like some of the alt timings were a little bit, crazy or just a little bit more questionable. But both of them were doing it though. It wasn't just like one team, you know what I mean?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, you knew something was going on in terms of pressure and probably nerves and, just like some of these time, we're talking overtime in some situations and time, it's like definitely some panicky aspects going on there. But it literally could have gone either way. I mean, I actually think that if that trans, like on Gibraltar, if Cox didn't waste that trans, I think that they might have won that map.
There was a trans on Eichenwald or a beat that didn't get off.
Yep, that
Someone
one
like
too.
didn't drop beat, and if they had dropped beat, I'm pretty sure they would have full health, and the match would have went the other way.
Yep.
It's like stuff like that, like these really small mistakes that just like lose you the game, or like just turn the entire map on its head.
But that's how close this series was. Like this, it really could have gone either way. So it was a fantastic final. A good way to definitely finish off season 6. And, GC Busan is really the dark horse of this entire, second half of the season. So really great story there. Obviously, I got him into the Overwatch League. So mission accomplished, right?
I want to know, and this is another one of those like hypothetical parallel universe questions. I'm pretty sure MVP Space smashed Lunatic High in the beginning of the season, and then Lunatic High stole their coach, and then MVP Space proceeded to be worse for the rest of the season. I want to know what would have happened if Lunatic High didn't snipe their coach. He stayed on MVP Space, and how good MVP Space would have been at the end of the season. These are just thoughts that pop up into my head.
Seems like so long ago, but I do remember that first match. Yeah, you're right. I didn't realize they sniped their coach. Really?
No, they did. They sniped the coach. That's like these are the things that keep me up at night. Like how good could you make MVP Space, and how good and was the coach a good pickup for Lunatic High?
Coach is insanely good, right? If that's that, I mean, that just speaks more to how good the coach is, I think.
I mean, they ran like this far Doomfist comp, and it was sick, but Lunatic High had no hit scan players, so like it was just a smart thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. These are things that keep me up.
Flame thoughts. Yeah. But okay, well, anyways, kudos to OGN for another awesome season. We'll see what season 5 actually looks like. It'll be pretty interesting. We won't be seeing Lunatic. We won't be seeing some of these, big name teams, but there's going to be still plenty of talent to watch in the next season. But anyways, I kind of reordered this. Kind of wanted to reorder just kind of like a minute interview with Trevor here, given that you're our guest, and so wanted to ask you a few things, Trevor. I'm obviously just met you for the first time this weekend. I know you've been associated with Winston Labs for a little while, but kind of want to pick your brain a little bit and just have our listeners kind of get a sense for just the kind of gamer you are and things like that. So you're a Major League Baseball player, right? We know athletes have all kinds of crazy regimens in terms of like preparing for the season, during the season, all that good stuff. So talk about gaming and how that kind of fits into all this, and why you even got involved with Winston Labs and everything, like involving analytics on the Overwatch side.
Well, I've been a gamer for like 20 years now. Wow. It hurts.
It hurts. What do you mean it hurts? It's great.
Ever since me and my brother split our Super Nintendo for Christmas one year. So
gotcha.
World of Warcraft was a big problem from like 2007 to 2012 for me, in a positive way. But what happened recently is I've dealt with a couple injuries over the last year and a half or so. This season I missed the entire season because of Tommy John surgery. Had a repaired elbow. So I'm kind of a goal setting guy. So I made a decision that I would pursue some things this season that I wouldn't be able to do if I were playing. And I've wanted to be involved in esports for a long time. So now I have a lot of time. So I was figuring out what I wanted to do. In terms of baseball, where baseball in general is moving very quickly into the deep analytics, sabermetrics type of way. Every organization has like an advanced scouting department, which puts the numbers together with like all the things I talked about before with the scouting and the people.
There's
always going to be
all
that stuff. So like being able to prove on paper and also by knowing the person, connect those dots a little bit better and go from there. Use science to get a better idea of whether or not this person's going to do the things that we hope he can do, and get a little bit better at making those decisions. So I saw an opportunity and started doing some research into kind of where that is in esports. Took me all the way back, kind of like 2009, 2010, just all the time I spent on Elitist Jerks trying to figure out, what gem to move around.
Right.
Min-max like get everything exactly where I wanted it to be. And I came to the kind of conclusion that people who play video games who are serious about it kind of think in this way. It's all math, really, is what a video game is. It's ones and zeros. So, and it's all, because it's a computer program, it's trackable and it's monitorable, and that's a word, and it's all this stuff exists. And then the Overwatch League was announced. So I was like, I love Overwatch. I was linked up with a few people to try to kind of build out a vision. Started a company that involves that. A partner of mine is Dennis Matz, aka Baroy, the runner of Winston's Lab. So Winston's Lab has kind of been a part of it. I have a couple other guys, a guy from Rivalcade named Epic, or Jake Lauman. Kevin Hitt is a journalist that did CSGO analytics, and developed like ranking algorithms there. So we kind of put together this team to try to figure out what we could do for Overwatch League specifically, but then all Overwatch players, because I kind of have this idea that I think if you're the best in the world at something, and there's enough people that want to watch you do it, you're an entertainer. I'm an entertainer. I play baseball. I entertain people. That's what I'm supposed to do. Right. I don't actually make anything or build anything. Right. So that's, video games are for enjoyment. People want to watch people play competitively. So I think the scene should get to a point where people are being paid accordingly. Right. And so that a lot of the things that come along with that is fandom and hype, and kind of just like why people watch and get excited about things. And Blizzard has understood a lot of these things, but also getting the information that proves that people are good. Right. And
that's the biggest thing. Yeah. It's to show the difference
on paper.
Them. Right.
Which is valuable to teams, right? And valuable to fans. But also the biggest thing is I want fans to be able to compare themselves to professionals.
Right.
So that you have that hope that if I'm good enough, I can go play at that highest level. That's kind of where I got. So we developed this company. Winston's Lab is, as a lot of you know, they do a little bit pretty in-depth number analysis, a lot of things. I know we were talking about it. One of the challenges has been, data sets and like sample sizes.
Yep.
Which is something that we're working so hard on right now, is because there's no API in Overwatch, like a lot of you guys know.
It's hard to open that up, man.
It's hard to pull stats out of custom games, which is what every professional game's played in. So we actually, Simon Pinfold, aka or Muon, who developed Overtrack, is also one of my partners. So we're using his stand-in API tracker, pull in stats, and then let Baroy go to town on it, because I think that's where the purest data is.
Right.
And we're just getting as much as we can. And how that pertains to teams is we developed a platform that involves video coaching and things. It hasn't been quite, I don't want to go fully in depth in it, but we're providing a lot of tools for pro teams, and then eventually everybody.
So let's dive in a little bit into analytics and just talking about that. So obviously, Flame, you've been involved in a lot of just players and just being an analyst, right, in the community. And how much would you be how much would you use analytics right now in terms of like scouting players and making decisions based on that? Like some of these teams.
I hate match stats. I like map stats.
Okay.
I don't think there's value in match statistics, which is a lot of what we get right now. Like, I don't want to see the stats from a team across 4 maps. I want to see like just the one specific map and for each 4 maps. So like, there's like a weird disconnect right now, I think, where people are putting a lot of value in stats. I mean, this is like the unpopular opinion, or like my opinion, but like, I don't like, if a team plays a best of 3, and you would say, okay, this team beat this team, and I don't know what maps they played or what the score lines were of like, did they play Anubis or did they play Hanamura? Hanamura is slower, so you'll have a lot more fighting on Anubis, and your DPS your damage per minute will be less than it would have been, or your damage per minute would be less on Hanamura than it would be on Anubis. So like, what I know. And then if you played, I don't know, Li Zhang versus if you played Oasis, where Oasis has like 20-minute team fights, another one doesn't. So like right now, I think that there's like this weird point system that they have, which I think is like kind of bizarre, because I don't know how it's calculated and like what maps contributed to their scores. I'd rather see like how many kills one player got against another team, or against another player, you know, like where did
Yeah.
the tracer match up? Who won the tracer 1v1s the most? Or like who got the better end of the tracer duels? Who got the better end of the tanks? How much shield or how much damage do they average block with their primals, or how much do they take?
Right.
Stuff like that's like really useful, but again, you need an API for that. So like
Sure.
I think eventually analytics will be really good, but right now I find it really hard to use them correctly without having really, really specific.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming that it will get to the point where we can get whatever stats that we probably want. I think my question is more about, is it going to be possible for us to have like these singular stats that really do show, you know, like the measurement of each of those players? Because, you know, in Overwatch, unlike, say, let's just throwing out something like football, you know, just from a fantasy standpoint, right? You know, the thing about Overwatch is it really depends on what strategy you're running too, like as to what your stats are going to look like.
Of course it does. And
You
it
know
has
what I
to do
mean?
with the
So
comps. And like
Yeah,
if a
so
team
is
that plays
KDA
quad
is
tank,
even like, I don't even sometimes even think KDA sometimes is like a little bit like questionable at times. But so yeah. Anyways, I'll pose that question. You can answer it. So, like, are we going to have any singular stats that we're going to be able to do that?
the technology's there, right?
The technology is there. The data's there too. Like you can get you can go as deep as you want into what metrics are being like recorded as you like, not any person, right? Because there's no API, but Blizzard could do it. They could put the framework in place to let you see it. And then it's the way that, and obviously there's an element of some guns have spread and some guns, like there's RNG. It's just, there's RNG. It's a video game. There's RNG everywhere. There's less in Overwatch than say PUBG, for example. But the way that you kind of start to negate to a certain point RNG is just mountains and mountains and mountains of data. So I think that it is there. I think that the same way that you talk about accuracy, right? You're like, okay, this guy has whatever X% of headshots as McCree, whatever.
Yeah, accuracy, I can see that. Yeah.
Of course, as that person plays hundreds of hours of games on McCree, that can be taken more as fact. But again, then you have to say, okay, who was he playing against? Was there ever even a tracer on the other team? How often? But you need to be able to sort that stuff down and then create metrics off that and get more and more and more and more specific. What we hope to do is help teams start developing their own strategies, just like the mountain of stats there are around baseball, which is insane because it's literally throwing a ball and someone trying to either catch it or hit it. That's it. And the numbers there are for that is crazy. The amount of numbers for 6 different characters that do 4 different abilities and against the other 6, the ways you can do it is just crazy. You just have to get it. Like, it needs to be, it's going to take time. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
but I think it exists.
The thing about Overwatch, how it's different than baseball, though, is that I feel like there are way more scenarios in Overwatch than there are in baseball. Crazy. You know what I mean? Baseball's
the amount of data there is insane.
Yeah, I mean it's like, I think exponentially larger actually, because all kinds of crazy different things can happen when you have like all these crazy moving parts, right? But just as an exercise, let's just say we had fantasy Overwatch. What would the stats be?
I mean, I think then you could just pull the Winston's Lab like point system or whatever. Like that's how you have to do it, right? You need some scoring metrics. Isn't that the entire point? It's like, oh, this defense got me 50 points today. Like stuff like that's cool. I mean, back to, I don't know, like that's what you need. That's what
we do need something. We do need some kind of,
like, we're kind of there
quality,
in my opinion, in some way,
metric.
right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Winston's Live definitely has that. It's just like for me to use it, like I'd want to know, you know, how often does this tracer go for medic kills? Like what's his percentage of kills that are on mercies or whatever? You know, like healers, and like how often does this guy pulse bomb tanks versus how often does this guy? So then you can tell your diva, hey, maybe you should like keep your matrix up for this Winston because this tracer always goes for tank pulse bombs. Yeah. And like there's a lot of stuff you can do with that, but we need that API, man.
We should speak outside of this.
Yes, we will.
Because I think that we have some things that might interest you along those lines. Already there, at least to a basic level, and we're expanding on it. But
I mean,
this is the type of stuff we're looking to do.
Yeah, from like a coach and a team strategy perspective, there's definitely a lot of value post. But I meant more like, I guess, from an analyst, you know, caster kind of perspective, like that stuff would be super sick to be able to pull in real time. So that's where like I'm kind of, you know, hustling on the Blizzard right now.
It's one of those things too. It's just that it hasn't been developed yet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
somebody just needs to come up with this, whether it's like an actual algorithm that.
No, you definitely need an
that's-
API at the end of the day. Like pulling the
You do,
kill feed
yeah.
and like doing crazy computer image processing is nice, but that's like super over the top unnecessary. The game's already tracking how many headshots you're hitting. It knows how much damage a tracer pistol does. It knows whether or not you hit the bubble.
It knows
whether
all
or
the
not you-
stuff. It's
Yeah,
just
it knows
not-
everything.
yeah.
It's just not pumping it out. And like that's the kicker.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, the analytics space is fascinating. It's awesome that you're you know, obviously very, very invested into it, Trevor, and excited to see what it ends up, you know, when it coming from a lot of these projects you're working on, because it's a very, very rich space, and it's one of those things where I'm not sure if I've said it on the show before. It's like one of the things I considered doing when I kind of came back to the whole, you know, gaming esports space, was doing analytics. Like I almost started my own analytics site and just going full out on that. But in the end, I ended up deciding to kind of come back to content and, you know, doing the shows again. So very, very big interest in it too. So
ChanManV. Oh my gosh.
Exactly, man. I already had the name and everything, man. It was like amazing.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, we've got a few. Actually, we got one Q&A question here from the Me55, and if you guys are interested in writing into us, go ahead and email us at theoverview@chanmanv.tv. He said, I was wondering what should we be looking forward to in OWL that contenders didn't have. I know better spectating and stats, but what will the 20 million per team be spent upon that will make it great? I'm looking forward to OWL, but I'm just curious. Okay, so I guess the question is all right, everybody's in LA. We're in the arena. You know, we saw contenders in the arena, right? What can we expect from OWL?
Better teams.
Better teams.
I mean, there's like this is kind of a loaded
For sure,
question. Like he's asking, the question at its base is like, what makes this better than a year-long contenders LAN?
Okay, I mean, it is kind of a year long.
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like that's like the base of the
Yeah.
question is like, why should we like?
Yeah.
I mean, there's like so many answers to that. Like the first one I think is probably like the regionalization, not the regionalization, but just like the localization. You know, the teams having areas. I think that this is like a problem that Blizzard wanted to tackle, and they're just using Overwatch League to tackle it to see if it's possible. And I don't mean that as like it's a testing ground. I mean, there's obviously going to be tests being. You could argue that there's like stuff that's being tested, whether or not it's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
But conceptually, I think that this is a really big venture, and I think that the concept of the 20 million buy-in is like, you know, like the way it is that all the teams are kind of working together. Like there's going to be banter on Twitter, but at the end of the day, all of the teams are kind of united in this like, we have to make this work mentality. And I think that that's like really powerful. So I think from a marketing perspective and from a promotional perspective and from a feedback and logistical perspective, like all of these teams are going to want to have each other's backs, because when profit sharing goes down, like you need everyone to be doing well. You can't have just one team popping off and all the other 11 are, you know, struggling. So there's a lot of really cool behind the scenes potential for like orgs just working together that I think doesn't exist right now. And that's like something that I personally think is going to be really cool about Overwatch League, is that you're going to see teams like Optic and like Envy, you know, working together doing events, and just like these bridges that are going to exist. Like you're going to have this bridge now between the Patriots and Immortals. Like that would never exist without this. And there's like so much potential there to just bring people into Overwatch that never would have ever been in Overwatch, and reach out to fans that would never have seen video games otherwise. Like you now have people who own baseball teams, people who own soccer teams, football teams, that all have access to all of these marketing outlets, all these big retailers, all this merchandising, and there's there's just a metric shitload of potential. I was gonna say shit ton. I don't know why I didn't, but like there's a metric shit ton of potential for like just this to explode.
Yeah.
And I think it's more like, can it happen? I think that's why it's going to be bigger and better than contenders.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, the marketing is the part. I think that's going to be like, I think the biggest thing. You're going to see Overwatch League events marketed in a way that you've never seen. I think anything marketed in the Overwatch space. So I think that's going to cause obviously a lot more fandom and, you know, it's just going to be hyped up more. You know, like Contenders was not hyped up barely at all. Like it took like weeks before, you know, even just the
hot take. You want a hot take? Contender Season 0 with Seagull streaming the entire tournament.
that was bigger
like,
than everything
was
else.
probably bigger than the entire Season 1 in terms of like hype moments and stuff.
I mean,
like,
it was Calvin and Seagull. I mean,
Calvin
it was
and the Chipmunks
exactly.
reunion time.
Yeah. So I mean, now imagine this: you have Seagull on Team NBA. You have Taimu and Seagull, and I mean, you have got like
the Dallas
behemoths.
people.
Yeah, you're gonna have like behemoth type of marketing that's gonna be going on, and yeah. So also, I think just from the standpoint of broadcast, you're gonna see a product that's way better than we've seen. And you know, I mentioned it before, and Trevor, you know, you talked a little bit about it too. It's just like God, the Apex. As much as I love the matches and whatnot, there were moments when all you saw were like ulted Genjis and just tracers, literally for like
We
5 minutes
Genji
straight.
ult, every
It
single
was
one.
like not what
The
we want to
entire
see,
entirety.
dude. Not what we want to see constantly. That was tough. So you know, we're gonna see something better than that, and that, you know, has a lot to do with the spectator, the new spectator that we're talking about, as well as just the spectating staff and, you know, director, which we've talked about in the last few weeks too. So yeah, be excited. I think we should all be excited about it. And yeah, it's gonna be starting like probably in a couple months now. Probably 2 months from now, we might be seeing some preseason action. Who knows? But yeah,
Sooner than that.
Sooner than that? I forget when.
2 months.
need December, though.
Is it?
It's in December, right? I mean, it's 2 months from now.
It's like early December.
Oh, it's early December.
December
Oh, it's
6th
like
or something is supposed to be the first day.
Oh my God. Okay, so that's coming up real soon. That's gonna be sweet.
Time flies, man. It feels like yesterday World Cup was over qualifiers, and now we're about to be at the finals.
Dude, it was like a year
I'm like
ago.
literally moving to LA tomorrow. I haven't even finished packing. I'm just here on this talk show.
It was almost awesome.
Time, dude.
It was almost exactly a year ago that the league was even announced. So this is.
I know,
amazing.
it feels like yesterday. I remember sitting, because I was
Like-
sitting in front of Ann and JP at the BlizzCon announcement, and people were just like laughing because they were like, are they going to hand out Combine
Crusher
tickets
99.
while we're here? Crusher 99. Everyone was like, what is this video? And I
Oh
was
man,
like,
I wish they would have had a one player called Crusher 99.
it just feels like it was
made
so
one of
long
it.
ago, but it wasn't. Like, or it was, but it doesn't feel like it was. Like, people were like, I need to go register Crusher 99 on Twitter, and then like people were racing to the Twitterverse.
You know what
to,
they
like,
need to do? They need
go
to make
smack
Crusher
ball.
99 the 13th man, dude. They need to totally do that for like one of these locations. That'd be awesome. But anyways, guys, that's gonna be it for Q&A. I think that's it for just everything we have for the show. So solid episode. Trevor, thanks for stopping by, man. I really appreciate it. It was actually fun getting a chance to talk all this Overwatch League and everything with you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, man. You got any shout outs you want to do before we take off here?
Yeah, I'm gonna shout myself out. Go follow me on Twitter. Trev May.
That's
Thank
the
you.
point.
Twitch, right? We're on Twitch. That's
Yep,
okay. That's
yep,
what you
yep.
do. Cool.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, definitely follow him on Twitter. It was Trev May 65, right?
Trev May 65. Yes, that is my baseball number.
That's right.
You guys are so smart.
So put him on baseball too. Draft him in your next year. Draft him
Don't
in.
get me. I'll be there in waivers. Do not draft me.
No, not draft. What
I will
kind of
be
shout-out
easily
is
picked
this?
up for free, and no one will even think
Spot
about
starts.
me. So
Spot release, man. Get some saves, man. Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
comeback player of the year.
That's right. All right, man. Flame, you got any shout outs you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Virgin America for getting me to California tomorrow, hopefully. I mean, my Discord, everyone, I don't know. There's so many people to shout out because I feel like I'm pretty grateful to be in the position that I'm in. But we'll talk more about that next week, I guess.
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
chilling
Right?
now.
Next week, guys.
Next week, that's a leak.
The worst kept secret ever, probably.
No, well, I mean, there's more than just one kept secret, right? There's probably,
yeah.
I'd give you a number, but that's another.
Man, we need some leaks.
There's a lot
dude.
of good secrets.
We need some leaks. Wait, so you're moving? You don't even look like you're moving.
I'm not
You're
picking
selling
up my
your house.
house.
Okay.
I'm not leaving. Like I don't feel like I'm moving because it feels like I'm going on a long year vacation to California because I'm not getting rid of the house. I'm going to keep it. So
Okay.
it's like I don't plan on getting rid of my furniture or moving out in any way. At least not right now.
So it's gonna be like
It's like my Jersey home, you know.
vacation home for some fun people.
And then your Jersey.
Okay, nice, man.
I
I
live,
already got
bro.
that. I already got that vacation home. That's nice, dude.
In Central Jersey, the most popular of vacation spots.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, I got to round things out. Thank the two of you guys for doing the show with me. It's a lot of fun. All the folks for watching, you guys are awesome too. Follow the channel if you enjoy the show, and the VODs will be up on youtube.com/ChanManV as always. If you want to check out some of the old shows we got, they're all there too. So they're awesome and amazing too. We're also on iTunes and SoundCloud.com/ChanManV and Google Play. So if you want to find us there, leave us a nice rating. That we'd greatly appreciate it. Helps when people are trying to find the Overwatch when they're searching for it in the the search engines and things like that. But other than that, guys, that's going to be it for this week. Next week we're going to try to do one on Tuesday. If we don't do it on Tuesday, then we're going to definitely do like a quick 30-40 minute show from BlizzCon, just talking about the updates and things like that. So definitely check that out when or be on the lookout for that. I'll definitely tweet about that. Follow us on the Overview GG on Twitter. But
Flame ZP for not showing up.
Yeah, Flame ZP for not showing. That's definitely true. You can do fish sticks too. Both of them. But until next week, guys, we will see you next time. Later.
Crave the love I give.